All right, another potential pitfall, it's a video game reference, for VR is posed by Mike Capps. You know who Mike Capps is?
No.
They make the fries that you can buy at the convenience store.
No.
Like the caps you put on a microphone with the logo?
Also no. He was an ex-executive at Epic.
Okay.
I think currently he's taking time just to hang out with his kids. But
Andy Capps is the fries guy, I think.
Okay.
Andy Capps was a comic strip.
I don't know.
It's
Are
also
you thinking of Epic Mickey?
No.
Andy Capps was the bar that Pong was in.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
Jared
actually
won.
true. Yeah. But Andy Capps was the comic strip about the drunk.
No, you're thinking
He's
of
always in the
Dennis
bar.
the Menace.
No.
Is that what Andy
Yes.
Cap's Tavern was named after?
Was Dennis the Menace always
have
drunk?
to
Is that
assume.
why that was happening? Was that why he was such a
Is this a
jerk?
tangent we're on,
Wilson.
or are we on a tangent?
Okay.
Yeah, but
Wilson?
I'm bringing it back.
Mr. Wilson?
Okay.
Mike Capps, former executive at Epic,
Okay.
told games industry, he's worried VR could ignite another political controversy,
Oh.
a political witch hunt coming after video games. He says, scares me to death to think that the baby shaker games on the phone, and then somebody builds that in VR with your hands actually drawn before you.
Yeah.
We are, of course, entering a highly charged political season here in America right now. He goes on, I think we're going to have to redefend our art form as we go into a space that's more immersive, and that scares me a bit because the major players in the VR world are not the ones who spent 20 years in the video game world. I was on the board when we were dealing with the Supreme Court defense, and that was a lot of really hard work and preparation to protect our art form.
Yep.
And of the major players in VR, I think essentially zero of them were involved in any of that or involved in video game defense or the ESA. It's Google, Amazon, Steam, Valve. So it's a little scary that we could accidentally expose ourselves to a Tipper Gore music lyrics like Crusade, and suddenly we have a harsh regulatory environment because people are afraid and don't understand the technology.
Yeah, that's a super legitimate concern.
Yeah.
Yep. First time you collar somebody in a VR game and shoot them in the face, that's going to be on CNN a week later.
Yeah,
Or have
someone
sex
makes
with
some.
someone,
Yeah,
and that's all over Fox News.
yeah,
first person sex.
It's already
shake-
happening,
Or a
guys.
baby shaking mini game.
Yeah,
like that's
that's-
totally
People
true.
are going to make that.
Well, and Caps makes a little bit more subtle point where he talks about the companies that are making these VR headsets aren't video game companies,
Right.
and so like they might not even know or care to make that defense of the medium that you
Man,
know.
if VR was a platform issue for the presidential election, it would be the most futuristic thing ever.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know,
Be so
politicians. It's
Well,
so.
so like,
I support
which
VR.
presidential
I don't.
candidate will be the first to have a photo of them wearing it?
I mean, it's hard to know what politicians. It's like they're campaigning, right? So they say all kinds of stuff, but like video games are not treated kindly by you know people on both sides, and I know
Above the age of 40.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not singling them out, but it's just in the news right now that Donald Trump was, you know, attacking gamers and attacking video games, and I don't know if it's to
I didn't
score.
see his quote. But
I don't know if it's to score political points or if it's stuff that they truly believe in their hearts, but it kind of doesn't matter. Like it's scary either way. Just as someone that cares about this art
Don't you
form.
guys think like the Jerry Springer news though might not even be that first? It might be like this boy is stuck in the Oculus Rift world and he lives only in virtual reality.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get that stuff too. It's like these kids
They're
like all they
addicted to
want to do, they're
VR, yeah.
addicted to VR. Yeah, they
Yeah.
come home and they jack in.
And it seems
And then there's just pictures of them sleeping with drool coming out of their VR
and
headset.
it seems so laughable thinking about a bunch of old dudes in a room on Capitol Hill talking
They
about
make
this.
the
But
rules.
yeah,
Or on GameScoop.
if you go back to, you can go to C-SPAN's website. You can watch the video game hearings on C-SPAN's archive right now. They're there on the web, and you sit there, and they are seriously considering legislating against what you can do in an art form. I mean, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
It's like
It's super scary.
Yeah.
I mean, we're making jokes about it. It's kind of not funny.
No, it's actually terrifying. We're laughing
if
because
we
you want
still
to.
have TV games, we don't have VR games. It's
So-
bad, but it's,
yeah.
So if you're really rich and you like
not the end of the
video
world.
games, please contact Google, Facebook, Twitter, and Oculus.
Well, and the flip side is, do these politicians or anyone that has this concern, like how valid is their point? And is experiencing something in VR different than experiencing it on a screen? Do we need to be concerned about that level of violence? Like there is a layer of abstraction. Like when I'm playing Call of Duty and shooting a guy, there's a layer of abstraction that's removed when I'm doing it in VR. And maybe that does have like it's always bothered me when people say video games don't make you violent. They never made me violent. I'm like, well, do you know that? Like, do you know that they don't make you violent? Like, how can you state that with such confidence that out of the millions of people...
Sound like a politician, Justin.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I've
Right.
seen research that does say, like, hey, kids that play violent video games do have higher level of aggression than kids that don't. And it doesn't mean they go shoot up a school.
There's also research that goes the other way.
Yeah,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people state these things so definitively. Like, I don't know what VR does to someone's psyche when they play a violent game in VR.
Well,
I don't think anybody does.
Most people don't, and that's going to be the problem. Is I don't think that most of what's going to come out of this is going to come from a place of people actually trying to figure that out. The problem with statistics is that a lot of what you see repeated statistically on the internet or on television television, frankly, come from sponsored surveys that give people the information that they want in the first place to prove the point that they've already decided. And there are legitimate surveys on these things that have been done, but you need to be very carefully when looking
social science.
No, you want to look at the right survey instruments. That's my point.
Right.
You want to look at the ones that weren't chartered by biased groups. You want to look at the ones that don't use leading questions.
Right.
You actually have to do homework to find out where good statistics
And we also,
are.
And if you're wearing a virtual reality headset and not doing your homework, then you're in big trouble, young man.
I'm sorry.
Everyone always falls back on, of course, violent video games don't make people violent. And I'm like, well, what if they did? What if they did? Then what?
What if television makes people violent? What if makes people
exactly.
violent? It's still art. It's
What
pretty,
if playing sports makes people, more, playing football makes you more violent? Like,
It-
what if then it's like, well, okay, like then what? Like, people don't really think, they don't see that line of thinking through to its conclusion. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
Well, then you put sweat in games instead of blood.
But yeah, that really helped. That just guaranteed everybody went and bought the other
It was
version.
still a pretty good version of Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo.
except
it looked better, but everybody went and got the blood version just because it had the blood.
ABACABB. I will never forget it.
What was the name? Was it Jack Thompson?
Yeah.
The name of the crackpot lawyer that was never stopped hounding video games. Except we haven't heard from him in a long time.
he got
was
disbarred.
But
But he was
maybe,
not a crackpot at the time, which is what's so terrifying.
We
Like,
drove him off the edge.
Yeah.
but maybe it makes people feel more violent. Fine. I mean, people may have a right to feel more violent. That's the other part of it is that what right does the government have to tell me what I'm allowed to feel?
I agree.
You know,
But I mean, everything we do has an effect on us. Like everything we read and consume and eat and play, and like to assume that it doesn't have some impact on you, to me, seems silly.
Oh, I get that. I want to see a very careful series of studies and look at the data before I make that kind of call.
No, for sure.
We obviously don't have these answers now, but it's something we should need to keep an eye on. How and if the burgeoning VR industry is noticed and given attention to by politics.